Boom, boom, boom. Hopefully it did what it was supposed to do. Let me go over here. I'll click on that, hit F10 there, and we should be good. Okay, so today is a Moodle Basics course. And the reason we're doing, kind of going back this far into school is because we had some comments today from staff members that a couple staff members said they just didn't know how to use Moodle, how to use the new Moodle, or how to do stuff basically in Moodle. So I thought we should start with a completely blank course with nothing in it. And if you've inherited a course from last year or a previous user, or you just want to start over with a completely blank course, we can totally wipe your course so it's back to nothing. And you can start all over again with just your students. If you decide you want to do that, make sure you export your grades before we do it, because all those things will be gone. The user asked for us to do it today, has her grades already backed up. She's going to import it and just has those grades.
What if you wanted like 90% of the stuff going?
You could do that yourself. They can do their own backup and just choose what things they want to back up. And then do a restore over the course. I don't want to go into that today. That's not basic.
That's more than sorry.
You just
I'm just kidding. It's right over your shoulder.
It's right there. It says backup. So if you wanted to back up your own course, that'd be in backup. And you could choose what things you want to back up and then restore it over your course to basically empty it all out. We're in a basic course. We're in an empty course right now. Has no users, has no stuff. It has 4 topics in here. And it's set up with very basic. I'm gonna shrink this one down. A little minus button shrinks it down so there's nothing on there. Right now we've only got 2 blocks on this course: the calendar and people. And you can we'll talk about kind of customizing those things today too. So first of all, the blocks are the things on the side. These topics are the areas in the middle that you'll put your content, your quizzes, your assignments, your links to other places that you'll put. The idea here is that each one of these, this is the new view, and it's the kind of, I'm going to call it the glossary view, where it kind of looks at it like the table of contents, I guess. There's a table of contents, and if topic 1 corresponded to chapter 1 in your course, you would just name that chapter 1, and then the students would just go into that one topic one at a time. You can do this by weeks, and I just had a conversation today with a teacher about, well, I like doing it by weeks because sometimes one class is one place and one class is another. That seems to be more confusing to me because your class is probably are always in the same chapter, even if you're not doing the exact same thing at the exact same time. I think it only makes sense to do subjects, or it doesn't have to be chapters. Subjects, we're reading To Kill a Mockingbird and the stuff about To Kill a Mockingbird if I'm an English teacher. Maybe it's not a chapter. Maybe it's linear equations. I don't know. Whatever the topic that you're talking about is, or what goes in those middle places. There are lots of different blocks that you can put on the side, and this is our current default theme. It might change no matter what it is. To get to customize, you turn editing on. In this theme, it's a button right there. In other themes, it's a drop down that says turn editing on. If you choose a different theme, you have to move your mouse around and find where those buttons are. I mean, and we can make, I guess, a manual that shows where the buttons are for everything. But once you've selected a new theme, it should
basically,
take you a few minutes.
almost every one of them are in the upper right or left-hand corner, and it's either a box or it's an arrow.
And there's almost always an administration thing on the left that you can turn editing on right there as well. This takes up a lot of room, and I either block or shrink my administrator.
You can also dock it too.
Right. I'm not a big docker. I think it's hard to get it to come back out again. I'd rather shrink it, and then when I need it, expand it. That's why I like that one. Personal preference. To add blocks on the side, you just turn editing on, and there's a little add the block thing. The add the block thing is always on the left-hand side, and you can move them to wherever you want it to be. Okay? So I'm not going to go into all these different blocks. Look how many there are. There's a ton of them. Okay? If you want to add them, all you have to do is pick. Many of them you can only add once. Like if I add course menu down here, I can't now go and add course menu again. It's not on the list. And that's because it doesn't make sense to have more than one course menu. If you add it and you're like, I didn't need that, you can just hit the gear and say delete it, and now it's gone. Confirm, and now it's gone. And hey, if I wanted to add it back again, now it's back here again. So some things can only go once. Some things can go more than once, like HTML. That's a block on the side that you can put whatever you want to in. You can put as many of those as you want in there. This, since it's a basic course, I'm not going to talk a bunch about this. Just that those things are there. This is for you to be able to customize your class how you see fit. You don't have to use a single one of these if you don't want to, and you don't need them. The ones that are here by default, I use the people one and I use the calendar, but you could delete those too if you didn't want them on.
People one's a nice one though.
So I'm going to turn editing back off. So people just lets you see what people are in your class. There's obviously none in here. But it would let you see your course list on there and message. Well, I guess we have messaging turned off. Okay, message students. I use Quick Mail for that. Yeah. Quick Mail is a block that I just said I'm not going to show a lot of blocks, but Quick Mail is to me one of the essential blocks. It's all the way down at the bottom. And Quick Mail, I'll go ahead and add it. You know what? And then you can just drag it over to the other side if I want it over here. And you drag things in the middle with a little. I don't know what you call it.
Move icon.
What move icon? Okay. Icon. Okay, move icon. This lets you go and send emails to your students, to groups of students. So if I clicked an email, there's no users to email. It says if I was in my course, it would have let me select Brown 3 or Brown 2 or Brown 4, or let me select certain students. So if I'm like, I forgot to mention this in class today, which I do frequently, I can go boom and send that to a whole group of students at one time. And it emails them. You can set up a signature so that it says it's from you and all that good stuff. And it keeps a history of those. I use that one a lot.
Where does the email actually go?
To their Gmail account. It goes into their Gmail. It
well, because there's people who like Gmail because you can do that in a Google Class. But I don't think people know that you can also do that through Moodle. Right. It does the same thing.
But it goes right into there. I mean, I literally use it all the time. Let me go back here and go to my class. So if you're in my class and I use the Quick Mail, I can compose a mail. I can pick a section of students to add. I can pick all users. I can pick just a particular user and then add them over here. And then it's just a basic, hey, here's your subject. Here's your message, and it always adds my signature on there. And if you say receive a copy, it means to your Gmail. You always have access to this in your history, but if you want it to go to your Gmail as well, you can click that. So that's how that works. That's one that I use a lot. But kind of going into advanced when I'm talking basic.
There's more stuff to that particular email. So anything you could do with the Gmail email, you can do with that one.
Yeah, and it sends through Gmail. It comes from your Gmail, kind of. Looks like it does anyway, even though it's kind of not. But so that's a great way to communicate with your students right there. So as far as Moodle goes, the way courses work is that you get a course for German, and you could have 4 sections of German, but you're all keeping them together in here, and they'll automatically be divided in your class by what are called sections. So I'm going to go back to mine over here just to show you. So if I was in my advanced technology class, and you know what, I should have it on the same theme so I'm not jumping around themes. And now I'm showing that there we go. No.
Where's top?
That I don't know where my own, where is it? Oh, it's over here. The edit settings.
Sprocket.
It's always the top. I'm going to switch this one back to the same appearance so that I'm on the same one that everything else is on, so that it's not confusing. So I'm here and I've got some different blocks in this class. When I go to my gradebook, I can look at my students by not only all of them, which is the default, but then I can go and drop down, and these sections, for the people who don't know, and I didn't realize people didn't know that, these correspond to whether it's orange or brown and what block it is of orange or brown, and there's some kind of code that scheduling uses. I'm not in charge of that. Okay, I have no idea. But you can always make your own groups, or you can rename these groups if you want to. So if you're like, what is 4-38? I have no idea. Well, I can go and rename that group. So I'm going to show you how to do that because that came up today with somebody else. So I'm in Advanced Technology, and I'm going to go to Users and Groups. Okay, so I've got this group here. That's this one, 3339. Okay, that is actually my orange one group. So I could go here and just say Edit Group Settings and say I don't want it to be called that. I want it to be called, it is orange 3. And so now in my gradebook, that group's going to be called orange 3. Now, here's the only thing. It's going to come back as that other one tomorrow. The other one's still going to be there. Tomorrow it's going to go, so I could rename this one orange 4. And that was one of the complaints today that I got, that it's too hard to know what students are even talking about. Well, all I have to do is rename it. That coded one is going to come in from Dazzle tomorrow. It's going to happen, but that's okay. I don't care if there's
just ignore it.
So now when I go to my grades, if I go in there, I could just as now I've got orange 3 and orange 4 in there, which maybe makes more sense to you, makes more sense to me too, right? I just look at who the first kid in the class is when I pull it, but you know, that makes more sense. So the idea is not that I make it, and I've seen that in a couple places, that they add assignments for the orange 3 and they add assignments for the orange 4. Well, it is possible, after talking to someone today, that they do totally different assignments in their different classes. I don't think that's the norm. I think most people are doing the same thing first block and second block and third block. They're not given one set of homework for one set of kids and one set of homework for another. For the class, they might change it for IEP kids or for differentiation, but they're doing totally different assignments on one class than a different class. That seems kind of crazy.
Let's say we're talking about math, algebra 2.
Right.
You have one algebra 2 class that's doing this, and another algebra 2 class that's doing completely different assignments.
It wasn't algebra 2, but yes, they're doing totally different stuff in their class. I don't think that's normal. I think normally we assign this project and it's being done by orange 1 and orange 2 and orange 3 all at the same time. Maybe that one class is ahead of the other or not, but I think most teachers are doing the same assignments in a given class. And I'll be honest.
But you can do that perfectly fine in here.
Yeah.
Even with you can use restrictions.
Right, and that's what I showed that person today, is that you can just restrict the assignment from one group and another group. I think they're using Google Classroom and doing a totally different Google Classroom too for each class. Which, is that the way Google Classroom works? Do you not set up Algebra 1? You set up Algebra 1 period 1 and an Algebra 1 period 2 in Google Classroom? Yeah,
but the way it's actually set up though is that you actually can borrow assignments from other classes that you.
So you don't have to reproduce stuff when people want to do it in Google.
Yeah, you don't have to.
Okay. So anyway, so you're going to get groups set up in yours, and if you ever want to look at those again, you go to Users and Groups, and those groups are already set up, and you can make more. Like my class is broken up into 4 other classes, right? So I have groups, a group that's in laptop tech, a group that's in networking, I have a group that's in PC tech, I have a group that's in programming, and it's going to move every quarter who's in what. So I have those other groups beside just my orange 3 and my orange 4. And if I was in my Computer 1 class like I used to be, I would have a group that was IEP. I might have 2 groups. I might have an IEP A and an IEP B group based on differentiating the different levels of kids on IEPs. And then I might have another group based on, okay, these are my high-end kids. I want to give them a harder assignment than my average student just to make sure I'm challenging the other end. You know, we talk about differentiating for our low-end kids, we need to differentiate for our really high-end kids too and try to stretch them. So you might have more groups than Dazzle has. That doesn't mean, you know, I mean, so.
Well, can the kids see what group they're in?
No idea. Can kids see what group they're in?
I believe they can, but they can't see who else is in that group.
Okay. I just wouldn't name the group something.
Well, yeah, you got to be careful.
You can call them sharks and minnows, but I wouldn't go past that.
I personally,
The
when
barracudas.
mine's like Alpha, Bravo, Tango. You know, and it's like, what's that? I just threw it out there. It's
just a letter. Just a letter. Okay, so we've got kids in our group. They're people. We could change that so it says students. That was one of the complaints. The words don't make sense. These words are just words. It doesn't have to say people. If somebody wanted me to make it say students, if that was a hang-up for somebody, we could easily do that. We have to change it for everyone. It's not for one person. So
but you do end up with a problem because that just tells you all the people who have actually been in this class, and people includes administrators, non-editing teachers,
right,
and students.
It's not just students, right?
Yeah.
It's everybody that's in the class. Okay, so we've got our basic Moodle. I mentioned the fact that you can set up blocks. You don't have to set up blocks. By the way, this is called a 3-column theme. 1, 2, 3. There's some of them that just have 2 columns. That one I was just looking at just have 2 columns. No matter what, there's going to be a central, this is your stuff, and there's going to be an outside, this is your extra stuff. The things on the outside are to help you navigate the course. They're to help you find things, but it's not necessarily where you have stuff for students to do. This is where the learning takes place in the middle. So if it's a 2-column thing, that may be this wide, and there may be this stuff on the side. The learning's here, and the I guess other access to that is on the sides. Is that the best way to say that?
Moodle actually treats it that way.
So
the one in the middle is actually called the main region. The one on the left is called pre-side, and the one on the right is post-side. So it's an order.
What?
Pre-side.
Oh, and post-side.
Post-side.
I've never heard that.
And then main region. Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to talk about the main region here more than anything else. There is stuff that I put on the sides. I have stuff on the sides on mine. If we go to my class, there are things there. In fact, I'm going to go back here and go to my hardware class. Okay. There's stuff on the side. I've got links to things on here on the side. I've got my calendar with the stuff coming on, but really the content is here in the middle. Okay, the content's here in the middle. Now, because of the way the course works, there's no real stuff in the middle. In fact, if we went and we can switch the view, I can go up here and you guys can do this too. Switch view to student. See what the students see. When they come in here, they have very little information up top. I do have a link on how to get Firefox working for people for a project we just did. And then it's just, they come down here. This is our table of contents. Chapter 1, Chapter 2 is the one we're on where it's highlighted in blue. And they can't see any of the other stuff that we saw when I was in here because they don't have access to it yet. But it's a very simple view that they see. In fact, I could have even less without those pictures on there for them to get in. So this top block here is not for to put lots of stuff at. In fact, it should almost have nothing here. We have a lot of classes that teachers have filled it up, so even though this is a table of contents view, you're scrolling down 3 pages before you even get to the content.
It's a nightmare on the phone.
And it's a nightmare on the phone. If you have students that ever want to access your stuff on their phone, the Moodle app is awesome. It's new and it works really, really, really well, but it doesn't work really well if you don't have your stuff in your topics. It is really ugly. So I'm going to turn editing on. And so this top one up here, I'm going to put nothing in. There's no reason for you to put the name of the course. It's already up here. And you saw I had that in mind. Why? I don't know. I need to take it out. It's just junk in there. If you're not going to use this announcements thing, which I do not, I'm going to go and hit there and say delete. And now it's gone. So now there's nothing in that top block. And like I said, there's almost no reason to ever put anything in there. The only thing you'll ever see in mine normally is something that just happened. Okay, I'm going to turn this on. I'm going to delete this because that shouldn't be there either, because that's past. We moved past this. So I'm going to delete that. And if we look on my other class, the only thing I've got up there, which I can delete now too, is the sub-assignment that I wanted to subscribe. I wanted them to make sure they all knew what they were doing the day I was gone. So not only did the sub get a lesson plan, I put the lesson plan up here so my students could find that really easily too. So I might have that there. Now I've got these topics. Now when I initially clicked edit, you saw that now I see all my topics at one time. If I only want to work on one at a time, if I click on the name, it will collapse all the other ones away. So I'm going to click on the name. And I'm going to prove myself wrong. Do I have it set?
No, click on it. Well,
I want to see if I didn't have my format set up. I don't have my format set. It should show one section per page. I'll come back and show that in a second. So I should be able to click on that, and the other ones just go away. But I should just be on top of one. That's what I should have seen. If you see the little pencil here, I click on the pencil, I can rename it Chapter 1, and it says right here, enter when finished. If I click anywhere else on here, it goes back to topic 1. And people mess that up all the time, including myself. So if I want this to be Chapter 1, I have to type Chapter 1 and hit enter. Now, just to show you, if I go back here, when the kids read this, they see Chapter 1 and then maybe Chapter 2 and Chapter 3. So I'm going to click on Chapter 1 again, so I'm just inside there. So the cleanest course just has nothing up here into the topic other than the name of the course. I have my little pictures of a book, and it's not a lot, but I do add my little pictures on there. And they're little pictures, not big pictures. So now we can add stuff in here for our kids to do or see. And activities are things to do, and resources are things to see. They're just like you handed them a book and said, read it, but you just gave them the book. That's not a homework, that's just the book. Okay? So resources are things to look at or read, to consume. Activities are things to do. Now, there's a lot in here. Moodle is the most powerful learning management system in the world, without question. And it can also be the most confusing for some people. And that's one of the things that we need to talk about whether we want to turn off a bunch of these things. Because maybe it'll make it simpler for teachers if they don't have so many options, right? So when I hit add an activity or resource, I've got a big list here, and I could turn any of these off in Moodle so that you don't even see the options. And maybe we need to does anybody use Active Quiz? I don't know. It's kind of hard. Yeah, there's a bunch of things, but the problem is just because I don't use it doesn't mean you don't use it. Like I used to try the database, and I don't use database anymore. I use feedback. I don't, of the ones on here, there's probably only on the activities. I use assignments all the time. I use choices all the time. I use feedback.
Flashcards actually good.
And I use quizzes. That's it. That's the only ones of all this list that I use. But because I don't use them doesn't mean you don't use them, right? Yeah. You use Hotpots. I don't use Hotpots. You use lessons.
I used to use Hotpots. I don't have them anymore just because I'm in something different. As far as subject matter that doesn't really lead itself that direction.
I guess my point is, for everybody else, you don't have to do all these things, right? There are 5 of the, I don't know how many, 20 activities that I actually have used in my class. And of the resources, and the resources are down at the bottom, of the resources, I use, see, I think I should turn this one off. I use books, I use files, I do use folders, I do use labels, I do use pages. Never use URL.
Really?
Because I put it in the page. Because I don't just have a link. I usually have a link in a page or in an assignment. I usually just don't have a click on here to go to a website. But you could. I mean, the IMS content package, I do need to turn that No reason to have that on. Okay, so I guess my point is, don't be overwhelmed by everything that's there. Pick the thing that works for you and use that, right? If you're an English teacher, maybe forums are something you use all the time, but you never use the choice tool. You know, I mean, you don't have to use all of them. So I only want to go through a couple of these, and maybe while we're going through them, we can talk about things that I could turn off, because there's some choices that we don't need to give teachers choices to, that I could turn off. You can force it and then tell it it's hidden, but maybe we shouldn't talk about that during this class. So I'm going to go to the assignment, and I'm not going to, the whole last course was on assignments, so I'm not going to spend any time on assignments, really. I'm just going to say this is probably the most normal one to give for a homework. It is the ability to put it in the gradebook, to put it on the calendar, that it's something is due, and they can either turn it into you like a good old-fashioned piece of paper, they can do it online, or they can upload a file. And it can be worth any number of points from from 0 to 200 is what I have in the outside limit right now. It's 200 points. And that's only because some people said I want to make it worth more than I don't ever make it any more.
I know. We talked about weighted grade and so forth. Yeah.
So if on any of these, you click on it, you read what it's for, if that's confusing, all you have to do is come down and we can talk about it. But to add it, you just say add, and then you're going into the settings of the assignment. All the settings are not required. If they're required, it has an asterisk next to it. Okay? If it doesn't have an asterisk, you don't have to do it. So obviously, an assignment has to be have a name. Maybe I say chapter 1 homework 1. You do not need a description here. If you want to add it, you have ways to make this block bigger. I can do it that way to stretch it bigger. If I want to edit full screen, I can hit this down arrow, and this is true in any place you see the editing box. And I can go full screen with that button, and now I've got a full screen page here, thanks to Dan reminding me of that capability. So these are the basic buttons that you always see. To see the second row of buttons, you have to hit this little down arrow. And that's where you get some of the more advanced things like linking and adding pictures and videos and sound files and editing, and going to this full screen button as well. You can drag and drop anything in here as far as text, pictures, anything, and they all get linked and they all work. It used to be that you couldn't just drag and drop anything, but I haven't had anything not work.
Now, if you do bring something in there and you wish to actually have that description displayed on the main region, I would not do it with something of an image.
I don't know what I was doing. Let's see.
Because it will take up a large amount.
Okay, so I don't know what the open season dancing with the stars. Okay, I'm just going to show you how easy it is to add something like a YouTube video. If you're editing something and you want to add a YouTube video, all you have to do is get this address here, because this is one of the things you can't just drag a YouTube video in. But you can do something like type the word video and highlight it and then link it with the link right there. See, it has to link to something, so I'm just going to hit the link button and then drop that address right there, say create. Now the reason I type the word video is so that when you look at it later in editing mode, you'll know that's where the video is sitting. But if I go and hit save and display now, that's going to have that video right in there that the kids can watch if they're doing an assignment or whatever.
Now I've been using the HTML code and embedding it.
I think that's a lot more work than just typing the word video and hitting the link.
Well, it does make you feel silly now, yes.
I'm just saying, why is my administration thing way down here? Oh, it's because
you're zoomed in.
Because I'm zoomed in so far. I might want to zoom out just a little bit. Okay, so some other things that you can do on an assignment, you can drop files for them on anything, and I'm only mentioning this not because it's an assignment. On anything, you can say, when can you submit? When is it due? I'll be honest, the only thing I usually have checked is the due date. In fact, that's one of the things we can go to assignments and uncheck those by default. I like to have a due date, because if I have a due date, it shows up in the calendar, and it's always defaulted 1 week from the day you're working on it. Moodle assumes, and we can change that too, what the default is. Moodle assumes that you're at least going to tell the kids an assignment 1 week ahead of time. So it's going to default to 1 week from today at midnight that this thing is due. If you have this checked, that means they can't even start it until then. If you have this checked, it means that at that date and time it becomes no longer available, which obviously if it's due on that day. And then remind me to grade. So if it's due on the 9th, you might say, hey, I want an email to make sure I'm grading these on the 11th or something. And then it will actually give you a reminder. I don't use that either, but you could. And then down here it says what kind of submission. It defaults to file. Do you want it to be online, or you can have neither one of those. Say it's just a hand in. It's a way for me to get the grade. And then what's the grade worth? And I'm showing you the ones that are going to be on everyone. It's points. How many points? And this is only worth 10 points. And then you don't have to do any of these other things. That's why I'm thinking maybe I should make those advanced. I don't know if I can or not. But you do want to say what category they go in, what grade category. So there's a quarter 1 assignment.
Do not get rid of the grade to pass.
No, I'm not saying that. So that's it. If I click that, now this assignment that we just created is on our calendar over here for the students to see. It's in here, so we can see the little piece of paper is an assignment. That is the one that you're going to use, that you might be using the most. And you saw that I put a video in there. Assignment can have handouts, it can have videos. I will many times make this, everything that I've got on that assignment in there, including my recorded video like this of the class, assigning it, so that I don't know what you said we were supposed to do. That's right there, kind of thing. So that's an assignment. That is, like I said, probably the most normal one that you're going to use. Okay. Some of these other ones, active quiz is, I would say, advanced. Attendance is advanced. Chat is just that. It's an open chat line that your students can talk to each other. The only time I've ever used that one is when I'm on base. So if they have questions, they can ask me questions. I tried doing an online back channel where when I'm lecturing, kids could ask each other questions, and it didn't work. They're not mature enough for that.
Yeah, I would say it depends on who you got in your room.
Choice is like a one-question survey. I use it for projects to let you can restrict how many people can say each answer. So when I'm doing projects, I make sure that the projects are evenly split in the class. That's the only real good thing I can think of to use choice for. I don't know what else you would use it for other than something like a project or something like that.
Yeah, it basically makes its own groups as people go through and select what it is they want to do. That's one that's actually used for, oddly enough, when they go to do the CTC field trip.
Well, they use that to pick their groups that they want to be together, and you can put them in groups.
How Glenn make that so that
that's a good point. In order for group projects, they can pick their own groups for group projects. Mm-hmm. Is that good? I don't know. Because sometimes you get heavily weighted groups one way or another way, and it's nice to kind of split them out. Of course, kids don't think that. The high-end kids are like, I always get paired with Jimmy, and Jimmy doesn't do anything. I'm not a big group project person. I used to be. Not anymore, because I saw the same thing. A couple students doing all the work. Anyway, database, builds a database, external tool. I don't even know what that is. Let's click on it.
Never used it. External
productivity module enables students to interact with learning resources and activities on other websites. For example, external provide access to new activity type of learning shows from a publisher. Might turn that off. Feedback is a survey. I use those all the time. I use those in all my classes. So the way I use the feedback module is in every course section, and I'm only seeing this because editing is on. In every course section, I have a self-assessment set up where the students read what the ICANNs are for a particular section, and then every class they come in and do a self-assessment of how do they feel like they are on the ICANN. So the questions are quite straightforward. They're the ICANNs. Can you list the basic thing that makes a PC work? Yes or no? And so in the end, when I'm ready for the review of the class, I go through and use this and say, okay, everyone said they can do that. Do I need to spend 1 second reviewing that? Maybe not, unless I really think they don't understand, right? So everybody said yes. Can you list the basic input-output devices? Everybody said yes. Everybody. So I use this as a tool for their own self-assessment to guide what I need to do or review before I do a test. So I love the survey module. I use it a lot. Or I'm sorry, the feedback module.
That's a nice, like, digital.
It looks different than it used to. This is totally different than the way it used to look on previous versions. You didn't get the bar graph quite like this, but
no, you got like red and green.
Yeah, and you didn't get this either. The how many people responded. So before I would know, oh, it's 100%, but I didn't have the lines and know how many had responded either. So, anyways, that's what the feedback module is for. Flashcard set. I've never done that one. Have you done that one again?
Yes, I have. And actually, it works really nice. I mean, basically just like any other paper flashcard you do, it goes through it, and if the student actually gets the answer correct, it puts it in one pile. You get it wrong, it goes into another
So you
pile.
can do flashcards of language stuff or any rote memorization type thing that you want to do.
Yeah, anything you want to catalog as rote memorization.
Okay, that's cool. I've never done that before, I definitely could see in a lot of classes why you would want
and I believe,
to do that.
You can actually also put, yes, you can put images in.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So you could say, do you know what this picture is?
Yes.
So when you do a flashcard, they basically is it I'm just looking at it and I have to say for myself that I know what that one is when I flip it over.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no test. Like, you don't have to.
No, but you got a picture, and down below it, you can actually say, "What is the man doing in this picture?" You know, or.
So it's a what's the word I'm looking for? It's a on your honor tool of whether you knew that when you flip it over.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
but
not
you can
what I'm
also
looking
use it
for,
as a
but-
participation thing. And you can actually control the flow of how many times they actually have to go through it before it actually counts too.
Okay. Okay, well that would be cool for a lot of courses. Forums I don't use as much as I used to, but it's just a forum. And you can set it up a number of different ways, whether people have to post, have to reply, have to start their own thread. There's all kind of ways to set up forums. And you can make it so students grade each other's forum posts, and it can be a scored or an unscored event kind of thing. I know some teachers that use the forum stuff. Now, these are all games. And
we're skipping all of them.
And yeah, we're going to skip all the games, especially because I'm terrible at Sudoku. But these are games that you can set up with vocabulary words that all of these games, I think, work using the glossary that you have to have already set up. So if you don't have a glossary, you can't do any of the games because the games use the glossary to build those games.
Yeah.
So if you don't have that set up, there's no way to make it do a crossword puzzle because what's it going to put in the crossword puzzle? So the glossary is just that. It's a glossary name or words and terms that you want to get your kids to know. Now, does flashcard set use glossary or do you type your own?
You type your own.
Okay. But I know these, from having played with them, work off the glossary when I don't know if anyone's using those, and that's one of that huge list that people think, oh, if you're gamified, that's what you're using. It has not anything to do with gamification. No. Those are just games, particularly in my opinion, when I went ahead and put those on there, it was like games that you could play in the middle school level during intervention time, when you want to keep somebody busy doing some kind of learning related to your class. It's not something I ever do in my primary class time, but if I've got kids in my room during intervention, they go, I've got nothing to do.
But well, if you have a vocabulary-rich content, those work really nice. And I believe the flashcard one, since remember, went away and then it came back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think now it might be able to tie in with the glossary, but I have not used it since.
And there's some labor-intensive part of that in the fact that you have to set up the glossary, and I've never tried to do an import on the glossary. There might be a way to do that. Let's see, display description. Is this glossary global? In other words, can you use it from other courses? Glossary type, main glossary, secondary.
Entries.
Approved by default. Always allow editing. Duplicate entries allowed. Allow comments. I'd have to play with that one, and I would say that glossary does not really belong in a basic Moodle overview, but that's really what we're doing right now is an overview of Moodle. Hot Pot is there's a variety of activities, and they're listed right down here. No, they're not. Where's the Hot Pot thing listed? It's not on here. Hot Pot is an actual thing from another website that you can incorporate in. I know it includes crossword puzzles and
close statements
and drag and drop statements.
Yeah.
I don't know why you need Hot Pot when we've already got a glossary.
If you are doing a glossary one, would you actually need Hot Pot? Does it look a little bit different?
I mean, because then if you have it set up in the glossary, then you can just make a new crossword puzzle and boom, it does it out of your glossary. Hot Pot, you have to actually type it all in every time, right? I mean, you have to type in what things you're going to use in your crossword puzzle.
Yeah, basically.
Whereas for a crossword puzzle, you just say, I want to use this glossary and make me one that's this big, and it goes blah, blah, blah.
But remember, it's like Hot Pot was the only game in town
I know,
for crossword puzzles and stuff.
Yeah. So lessons are, I'm going to say, an advanced tool that are wonderful. It lets you, kind of like the new restriction set all in one place, give content and assessments, and now differentiated content and assessments, and now differentiated content. You can have a lesson path that splits and comes back. You can have a lesson path that goes away off into on its own, right?
Oh yeah.
Based on what the kids or the students have shown that they know. It is definitely an advanced tool. It's a wonderful tool, and I'm going to say that Dan or Heidi Perry, does Lessons Lot, are the go-to people on lessons if you want to try to build a lesson.
And it's something, if you have content that you know is going to be your content for an extended period of time, it's something that you do every year, but you end up with the same people with the same difficulties in areas, you can build that in so easily into the differentiation part of it and allow it to follow different paths. You can bring the one person in and out of a path that as you're differentiating this, really an infinite number of times.
And I want to throw something here. I had a teacher tell me like 3 years ago, maybe 4, that nobody does anything in dance class. They just play on computers, and he doesn't teach them anything. Okay, that's what was said. And I will tell you that I had a student that had Mr. Studebaker, that's a junior right now in my class, said they don't remember anything from a single one of their middle school classes other than yours. So it may be that some teachers don't see the value of this module because it's not the way they teach, but because I polled them after that came up in the class, and every single student said they remembered the stuff that they learned doing the lesson modules in your class way more than any other social studies class they've ever taken. So to this teacher who's not here anymore that thought they were just playing around in your room and that you weren't teaching, they don't understand the amount of time that goes into that module to get it to do the right thing in the first place. Because you spend way more time on there. Now why would you do it? And to me, the reason you use the lesson module is because all the students, especially now, right, we're one-to-one. Everybody in every class could do individualized learning based on what they know, and now the teacher is available to answer questions, to talk to students, to work with this kid because they're behind. It frees you up from the more mundane giving of information to now I can incorporate outside videos, other people's videos, my own videos, other websites. I can incorporate everything on the web together in a very structured way to get them to see different people talking and different stuff going on and different assessments, and did they get it? And no, now they got to go over here, and at the same time now I've got time to do stuff. So it is a time suck.
I would say it is, well, but that's the thing. It can be made as a miniature version of an online course, so where it has everything in one package.
Yeah. So
you could do that.
A wonderful thing, but I go see Dan or Heidi on that one. Okay, so quizzes. It's a misnomer. Quiz can be a quiz, it can be a test, it can be a formative assessment, it can be a summative assessment, it can be used as a lesson, it can be used for flipped learning. I use the quiz module, hey, watch this video, answer these questions. And that's so that I can make sure they watch the video and did they get the content of it. And if they didn't, now you can't retake this quiz for 20 minutes because the video is 20 minutes long. Go back and do what you're supposed to do in the first place to try to get that. You can build tons of question banks for the quizzes that you can use across any of your different modules that you're teaching inside the same Moodle course. And it has, it has down here, what can they be used for? But it has every kind of question that you could possibly see on the air test at the end of the year. I don't think there's anything that's not there. You can start out simple with your using of quizzes with true, false, multiple choice. And then I can add essay. And then I can add fill in the blank. And I can add pictures with drag and drop. And I can drag and drop answers. And I can do matching. We do short answer. I mean, there's every kind of question can be done in a quiz module. And that's the subject of an entire course. We're going to do that next week. Okay, we're going to do quizzes next week.
The fact that I don't have my bank that I used to from when I was doing social studies.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had over 1,400 questions.
And it's nice to have a big question bank. And you can use those questions then for things like Quiz Venture, which basically is, have you ever done it
I've
before?
never done this. No.
You've never done that? So you pick, I'm going to show you a Quiz Venture one because it's crazy. Oh, I can't do it in this one anyways because there's no, so it uses whatever category questions that you have, and then it's like playing Galaga, but the answers are coming down at you, and you have to shoot the correct answer for all the answers to go away.
No, I have done that. I forgot that's what that one was actually called.
So that one's, and it's kind of crazy because you've got to have your stuff categorized right, because if you've got, true and false will work, and multiple choice will work, but matching will not work, and all of a sudden matching comes in, you have all the different
and if you have a convoluted question, all right, or it's really big coming at you, it's hard for the kids to actually be able to read it.
So, score and package, we don't use that. Survey, no one uses that because feedback's better. Wiki is a wiki, however, I'm going to say that the downside of Wiki, it works just like a wiki, you can use Wiki. Only one person can edit the wiki at a time. And if you want a lot of people to be able to participate together, I think it's better to use Google Docs. It's a one-page wiki, and you have to link it from somewhere else, but you can link it from your course, right? From in here. So that's my thing of Wiki. Workshop, I've never used a workshop either. Enables the review of peer assessments as students' work. I don't know if you do that in the K-12 environment.
I just want to know what that thing is on her head, or its head, or what is that?
I don't know.
It bothers me. I need to get rid of it.
Yeah. So that my point there is that there's a lot of things here. You don't have to use them all. Okay. Down here on the resources, those are the things that you add for students to be able to look at. So files is just a file, whether it's an Excel file, a PowerPoint file, a Word file, a PDF file, that's all it is. Now here's the thing, I don't know why you'd ever use that anymore. No reason, because here's the thing, if editing is on and I want to drop a file, why would I use that? Oh, wrong one, that's the one I wanted to use. If I wanted to drop this file, I'll go and grab Linux ISO, no, I don't want to grab that, that's huge. Go down to my T drive. If I want to grab and add this Word file here, all I have to do is drag it, Wherever I drop it, it's just there. That did not used to be the case in Moodle. So I don't know why you'd ever use a file, because it does the exact same thing. I can change the file name just by clicking there for what the students see. They click on it and it opens the file just the same. So I'm going to say I don't know why you'd ever use the file one. The folder one, I do see why. In my class, I have a folder with all my chapter material in it. So there's one spot on Moodle, they know they click on that and they can get to all the stuff. And you can make folders inside a file. So you can have one that says course material, and inside there you can have chapter 1 and have stuff inside chapter 1. I know that Mrs. Brown had tons of videos and she's trying to organize those in the file folders now because she had them all just sitting in her course, and it kind of made it daunting to look at it all. So that's what folder is for. Label is just that. If you want something to show up in your course, I try very hard to minimize my use of labels anymore, just because they have a tendency to fill up your class. That isn't to say I don't use them. I'm going to go back to student view here. I use them to help organize the content within a particular topic. So I'll use labels. Well, I don't have any in that one. Hold on. Don't have any in that one. I do in this one though. I'll use labels for simple things like this, right? That line in between. There's actually a label right here that you can't see because we haven't progressed far enough to see it, that says quizzes and tests, and the quizzes and tests will be there. So I don't really, that's a label, by the way. That picture is a label. It's just graphics and text that you just want to show up right on the main page. And like I said, I try to minimize the use of that.
My favorite use of it, just kidding by the way, is that when the topic title and the label title are the same. So you actually have, like, CEU chapter 2,
right?
You know, ... There will be another one on there that says chapter 2, ... Like,
right. So that's what labels are for. Page is to just make a web page of content. And so many times if I gotta go back to being me here. If I've got a bunch of links or something that I want my students to read, or like for this one, here's a good example, the I can statements. It's a page that I have all the I cans listed on, and I've got some stash on that they gotta pick up to say that they read it while they were there.
That's nice. Did you make that?
I can. I read the I can.
Did you make the icon?
No, I found it. I make hardly any icons. I'm not that artistic. I am slightly autistic, but I'm not artistic. So, so that's an example of a web page. Here's another one. Oh no, that's an assignment. Sorry, that's an assignment with a video and stuff in it. This is one that's a quiz that I have a couple of videos embedded inside the quiz. So that's what I was saying. I use it for an assessment tool. That's a watch these 2 videos and then take this quiz kind of thing.
See the web page icon? It's a folded over piece of paper.
Yeah, I was looking for another one. I thought that's what that was, but I had to check on it, right?
Yes.
There's one. Okay, so here's a good example. It's a web page. These are all links to other computers. The last thing I want to do is have one URL, a URL, a URL, a URL. It's easier to have one that says, hey, you need to compute the wattages for these PCs, and then they can go in and click on all the different PCs that they then have to go and use the wattage worksheet for. And honestly, even on that one, I don't know, why did I put the wattage worksheet on a separate thing and then give the, why is this there? Why is this not inside there? That would have made more sense, right? Because I've got the PCs to do the wattage for, and then I got a wattage worksheet that's just separate one that could have been inside that, which is kind of the point of doing a page, which is why I like doing a page. And the last thing you saw was a URL. That was that's just a link to somewhere else.
Well, when you drag, if you do drag that PDF in on top of that page,
well, I'd have to download it first, right? I'd have to go and download this PDF, so I'm going to go and save the file to my desktop PC wattage worksheet, and then I would have to go back up here and edit it. And now I think I I haven't tried to do this before. Desktop. I actually haven't tried to drag a file right to here. I don't think
that's what I was.
I don't think you can. Nope. Did I? Nope. Nope.
No, did not. Oh wow! So did you try to put it in the content?
No. Here's how I would do it. I'd just do link like this. I'd go down here. Let's see. Wattage. Worksheet. And then you can go like this and say link, and then I can go browse, and I can go browse, and I can upload that file. This is one of the kind of old school ones. It didn't used to have, so now that's a link to open that file. The only thing I didn't do is I wanted that link to open in a new window. So now if they go and look at this, it's going to have the links with the Wattage worksheet on top, so now they can click there and get to the Wattage worksheet, and then all the links are below it. So now I can kill that other one, because that was just a waste of space. And that's kind of my point with being organized. Do I not have editing on right now? If you're organized and you have your content displayed well, there's less stuff to confuse them, right? So I'm going to delete that. Yes, I'm going to do it. I'm trying to think.
Was there anything linked to it?
No, it's gone now. It's gone now. So that's the last one of them. The only one I didn't mention is a book. Now, a book, I'm going to say, is an advanced one. I use books now for all my stuff. So there's the book. I try to put, I'm going to have to zoom this out so you can see it better, and I'm going to turn editing off. So I try to put my content that I want them to read in books now, and I can embed other websites, I can embed videos, but it's all in one thing, and I have one book per section. And by the way, these show up wonderfully on the mobile app. It's awesome how well they show up on the mobile app. But it's just like, hey, this is reading that you would normally have a student do, and if they hit the next button, they go to the next one. And inside here, I may or may not have pictures, but in this case, I've got stats they've got to remember to pick up to see if they read through the whole thing, which will then determine whether they get to see it. It can't handle sound. So you can see it, and I've got, oh, I saw that little one there, and you can see that they can go through the book. So there's really not a huge difference between using a book and using all the other things that you've got here. Okay. Well, I guess the difference is that I can put all these things into the book, so now I've got one place where they find all their content. Okay, and then, so really, I'm trying to use this as my primary resource, just like that one that said power supplies to do wattage for. That needs to be combined with the activity right above it, which is where the grade is. Why did I do that? I don't know. So if I can put all my content in one place for a given chapter, then below that, all I'll have is the activities that follow or link to that content. Like I've got ones here that down here in this mission, the first thing it says, hey, watch these videos. Oh wait, this isn't the one I was thinking of. Not the one I was thinking of. Is this the one I just clicked on?
No, where's the top one?
Where's the one I'm looking for? Oh, okay. So the first thing it says is read the chapter 2 section of the book. That's a link. If they click on it, it opens up to the chapter 2 section of the book. So I don't put all my content in activities and that kind of stuff. I try to put it in here in the book now and link to the book. So when they're ready to review for the test, they know that this is where they find the stuff to review. That's what I'm trying to do now, is put all my stuff in here. Like I said, that's kind of advanced.
But that's the thing, is if it's material that you know, even if you're only going to use it for a short bit or something like that, or it's a textbook that you already have that you have scanned, OCR, and then throw it in there. The nice thing is that if somebody's actually, online with this, it'll read the text to them too.
Yeah, yeah. The book reads really
Yeah.
well with much material. The last thing I wanted to point out is I had some complaints about this theme. You don't have to stay with the theme. If you click on Edit Settings on this theme, then you can go down to Appearance, and you can choose any one of the other themes that are available. Just so you know, this one is Shoelace, this one at the bottom, and all these other ones are available to you as well. I would not have picked Shoelace if I didn't think it was the closest out of the box to the old one. It doesn't mean I think it's the best one. It was just the closest one to the old one. Now, the ones you're fixing are going to probably be better. The Essentials one, I think. Because that's a 3-column theme now, too, isn't it? It's going to have the colors and stuff. So once we get Essentials in there, I don't know, maybe I'll make everybody mad and then pick that one, too.
Have you done that one yet?
I haven't.
Have you moved Essentials?
I haven't looked at it. I haven't had a chance.
I'm actually looking at Boost.
The last thing I want to point out, you can see it says Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3. It doesn't even have a top box because there's nothing in it, which is awesome. When you go to here, if you run out of sections, I'm down to Chapter 4 and I need more, you just have to turn editing on whatever theme you're on. You turn editing on, you go to the bottom, and it says Add Topic right here at the very bottom of the last topic. You can click there and you can say add as many as you want. Oh, I need 3 more. And hit Add Topics, and now there's 3 more topics.
So much easier than the old one.
So, yeah, but I can't hide them the way I used to. I like the way the old way hid them off the page. You can't hide them off the page like you could before.
Well, you're talking about going in and telling them.
Yeah, only show 2, because then my website loaded faster. Right? That's the only reason. I mean, it still loads the same for the kids, because it's all hidden from the kids. But it doesn't load as fast for me, which is what I did.
Have you actually gone in and tried to change that number?
Yeah, there is no number there. There's no such place anymore.
Really?
Yeah. No, believe me. Yeah, if you go here, you go to Edit Settings. There used to be a place where it said how many blocks would show. It's right there. But there's no such thing anymore. So if you...
No, course format.
I know, it's not there. I'm telling you, it's not there anymore. It doesn't show it. Look, topics, how many topics? Yeah, it was right there.
Number of announcements.
What?
Appearance. Number of announcements.
No, that's not. Watch. I'll change it to 1. That's not it. It'd be nice if that was it, but that's not it. That has nothing to do with. That's announcements. So if I had the announcement thing.
So I did make that come back.
It made that come back.
Good job.
Thanks,
yeah.
Dan. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate that.
I got to delete that again.
So yeah, it doesn't have that anymore.
You're welcome.
So this was intended to be a walkthrough of Moodle, and I know it took a little longer because we went into some other stuff, but none of this stuff is too much rocket science, I don't think. But like it was pointed out to me, it's not as just as straightforward, simple as Google Classroom, and that's because it's much more powerful than Google Classroom and does a lot more. I'm not saying Google Classroom won't ever get there. Well, I will say Google Classroom will never get here, but it'll get a whole lot closer. Because Google will build something that's that that differentiable. That's too much work.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing is that there's an independent army of people working on trying to make this better.
Yeah.
All the time.
Right. I mean, there are hundreds of thousands of schools that use Moodle.
And universities.
Yeah.
And businesses.
So if anybody's got a question, please don't hesitate to come to Tech Tuesday. We'll modify what Tech Tuesday we're doing if you come, or just come anytime on my planned days, or Dan, first block of the morning is available to help out teachers as well if they have any help. Any requests, and yes, you can go from the high school over to the middle school and ask Dan if you're afraid I'm going to talk too fast. I don't talk that fast when there's someone here. I talk faster when I'm by myself, recording by myself.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's the thing is, brown days in the morning, and then the very first thing in the morning, the last hour of the day.
Orange day or brown day? I don't even know.
Yours on orange.
I teach on orange.
Oh, both our orange days
are
pretty busy.
Okay.
So if you got a tech problem on orange day,
too bad.
Yeah, tough.
Put it in work order.
Oh, you got work order. There you go.
Anyways, that's it for today. I'm going to go ahead and close out with my Alt-0.